Hello, and welcome to good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where in the world you are. Thank you for joining us today. We're so grateful that you have taken some time out of your busy day to join us. So I am Anthea Armar, founder of Armar Group. And for those of you who may not have come across me before, I'm a coach, I'm a speaker and a consultant, and I'm based in London. And essentially what I'm doing is just helping entrepreneurs and small business owners to get to that next level of success in their lives by helping them to take that next step, to find out the things that are blocking them and helping them to push through. So part of that is to also support individuals and help them to figure out what areas of their life are they having some struggles in, and how do we go about breaking down some of those beliefs? How do we go about pushing ourselves forward so that we can achieve the things that we want to do? And one of the ways that I'm doing that is with the SHiFT. Here we go, the SHiFT. So just looking at how can we make a shift in our life? How can we transform our life? How can we be the better version of ourselves so that we can live life and do the very things that we really, really want to do? So today, the power of positive thinking is all about looking at how we can take steps to actually make those changes. And joined with me today is the lovely Cassandra Stanley. And I am not going to do the introduction because I probably won't do her as much justice as she would herself. So Cassandra, please introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and what you do.
Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Cassandra Stanley, and I am a mindfulness coach for foster families and youngsters.
Excellent. So Cassandra is somebody who understands the power of the mind and how you can use mindfulness to change the way that you think, to, actually see the results of that in your actual life. And so some of that is what we're going to be looking at today. So again, power of positive thinking is comes from the first part of the SHiFT, which is what I mentioned earlier. The 5-part webinar series and also Q&As where we're looking at, right, so how do we make a shift in our life? How do we get to achieve the very things that we want to achieve? We know that we're not happy right now. We know that we're not enjoying life as much as we possibly could have. So how can we make that shift? So again, just quick plug, if you've not yet joined, it's not too late. Although one of the sessions have actually completed, you can do the catch up if you want to. So for us to kind of jump into this and kind of get started, one of the things that I thought would be useful is to kind of kick off with some of the questions. So as I mentioned, we started with the first week, which is looking at mindset. It's looking at the power of thoughts, the power that or the importance that mindset has in your ability to transform your life. And so when we run the session at the weekend, we're kind of looking at, well, how can you start to think differently? How can you start to do things differently so that you start to get a different result? And so what we'll do is just kind of go through some of the key questions there, because I feel like it's really going to benefit some of you who are watching now or even watching back on the replay. So just to kind of chime in and get your thoughts on this, Cassandra, is the first question was, I speak a lot about, and I think I mentioned earlier about purpose, right? Understanding what your purpose is, because when you know what your purpose is, you're able to really just move forward and, be a lot more laser focused about what kind of actions that you take. But one of the questions that I get a lot is, how do I find out what my purpose is? It'd be great to do all of the things that you say, but how do I actually figure out what my purpose is? So what would you say to anyone who's kind of in that stage of, I want to make changes, but I have no idea what my purpose is, and therefore I don't know what I should be doing next?
It's a very good question, and a lot of people, like you say, struggle with it. I myself struggled with this a while ago because it's a very confusing time and you don't know what you want to do, and you feel stuck in a rut and you want to move forward but you don't know how. So what I started to do was basically look at things that make me happy, things I enjoy doing, even like write a list down. And then when you start to look at basically what you enjoy doing, what makes you happy, try new hobbies and interests as well, because that might spark something inside you thinking, oh, do you know what? I want to do more of this. I enjoy doing this.
Mm.
It's something that you've got to have a passion for. You've got to enjoy it. You've got to feel it, because basically your purpose is what you're going to be basically putting out to the world and hopefully, like I say, helping others. But in what way? You know, everyone's purpose is different, and you might
Mm.
go down one path, start to enjoy it, thinking, yeah, this is what I want to do. But then something might come up and you're thinking you might change direction as well. And that's okay. It's okay to do that. So just basically go with what you feel, your gut feeling.
Mhm.
And hopefully, when you look at those things, you will then come about your purpose.
Yeah, that's very true. I definitely agree with that, because there's a lot of times where people don't, or because people are not quite sure also what they're even interested in, right? There, a lot of the times it can be the fact that there are people who have gone through a life that they've kind of been expected to live, and so they've just gotten so used to just going through the motions that when you ask them that question, what do you like to do, what makes you happy, they actually don't know, because
Yeah,
they're just not used to either being asked that question, or for them to have the opportunity to really think about what they want, because they've spent so long figuring out what other people want. So I really like that. You know, and also something that you mentioned as well was the fact that you may change things along the way. I think that's really important, because I have this quote that you probably heard before, but a decision is a temporary choice, right?
yeah,
And the reason that I love this quote is because we can get so stuck in what is right and what is wrong, and what will work, what won't work, and trying to play out all of the different scenarios to ensure that if I'm about to make this decision, it's going to end up doing exactly what I want it to do. But there are no guarantees. And so instead of
yeah,
spending all of that time trying to figure out if you've made the right decision, just know that you've made a decision, and that if it gets to a point where this is no longer working for you, or you no longer feel it's right for you, then you have an opportunity to now say, oh, okay, great, this doesn't work for me, let me try something else. So yeah, really like that perspective. And just just for those of you watching, just your purpose, personally, I think, starts from understanding your passions. So things that
definitely.
like Cassandra's saying, things that make you happy, things that you generally enjoy doing. And I like to say it as things that nobody has to remind you to do. Right?
Yes.
I have to remind myself to do the cleaning. It's not something I enjoy. But if it's
Also,
an opportunity to watch something, to watch a movie, to dance, to cook, to do that, to go to do my photography, nobody needs to remind me of that. I can just kind of get on with it.
yeah. Also, there's no right or wrong answer. Everybody's different. So,
Mm,
you are sort of conditioned to sort of work and do certain things, but your purpose is yours. It's personal to you. And that's what you need to follow, is follow your heart and your gut instinct on that.
definitely. Just if you could sit a tiny bit closer to the mic, you just sound a
Yeah.
little bit low at the moment. Um, just wondering if you have any questions. If you've got any questions, just drop them into the chat box from whichever platform that you're currently watching from, and we will address those as we go through. So that's one of the first questions. There was another one which I also get asked this one a lot outside of the webinar, and take coming from people who actually want to make changes in their life. So I'm somebody who, I've maybe watched a few videos or lives like this. I've started reading books. I've started attending workshops, and my mindset is starting to change and adapt to positive things, right? But the question is, how can you think positively when most of the people around you are negative? How do you even begin to kind of make transformations if you're just surrounded by such negative energy?
That is a tough one, and like you say, a lot of people can understand and have people around them that are negative.
Mm.
It is hard, especially if it's, should we say, family members, or like loved ones or very close friends. Um, the way I've dealt with this, because I've dealt with it quite a bit, through this last year. I look at it. The point I look at it is where they're coming from.
Mm.
Why are they negative? They might have been through a lot. So I do have empathy. I do think, okay, they're negative. They've had a lot going on. But the thing is, don't take it personally. Don't take it on board, and don't take their negativity on board as well,
Mm.
because being around someone that's negative can be, as we know, very draining, and it does affect your mindset. It can
Mm.
make you start to doubt yourself. It does have that knock-on effect with people around you. So
Mm.
what I do is I tend to limit my time I spend with them. So,
Mhm.
or say, for example, they're very close to you, then, be mindful of how you're feeling. So if they're in a negative spin, go out for a walk, or just go and do something different that's going to put you in a better mindset, a better, bit of breathing space, and just release that negativity, because it will affect you. It will obviously have that knock on effect.
Mm.
Also, focus on the positive, focus on positive things to sort of counteract in your mind if they're sort of being a bit negative. Counteract it and just think of positive things and focus on positive things, because as we
Mm.
know, positivity is a better vibe and a stronger vibe than a negative one. So it kind of like counteracts it, knock it out kind of thing. So it's not easy, and it's not a quick fix, and might be a day-to-day struggle for some people. But if you're mindful of how they're making you feel, like I say, don't take it personally,
Mm.
and just take yourself out from the situation, go for a walk, have a breather, and just get back in that positive, focused mindset.
Yeah, there's so many things that I was just like, yep, yep, yep. And, and I think one of the first points was around if they're close to you, because I think that tends to be the challenge, especially considering we've had the pandemic, and you're in a place where you literally can't escape other people. If you don't live alone and you're living with other people, you're now bound to those people. And so what do you do when, one, some, or all of those people are negative? And it's hard because they are so close to you. And it doesn't mean, I suppose, close to you in terms of relationship, but even just, physical presence.
Yeah,
And the energy that, there's this whole thing about transference of anger, transference of energy. If someone is feeling negative, they can quite easily project that onto you. And that kind of brings me to that next point, which was, where when you said don't take it on,
yeah,
that and I'm a very much a believer that everything that we do is based on the decisions that we make, right? So what we're experiencing now is because of decisions we've made, and even those decisions are also based on the decision to react to somebody in a certain way. So if somebody is being negative and I chose to be negative because I'm around them, I can't blame them because it's
no,
my choice to be negative. So, like you say, think about, some things that you do that allow you to just be at peace, be mindful, and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely hit home on a few points there around, just not taking it on and realizing that they are obviously going through their own challenges, and
yeah,
that's about them. That's a you thing. That whole thing, it's
exactly.
it's not you, it's me. No, 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 it's definitely
Yeah, yeah.
you. Right? No,
Yeah.
no, no, it's you. It's you.
I would
Um,
advise, like I say, go for a nice long walk, or even go and see some friends or some people that make you feel good, because then you're counteracting that
yes.
energy. Go for coffee with a friend or something, or go to the gym. work out that bit of frustration, you know?
Yeah. Endorphins, they are just a dream.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be challenging to actually get to the gym, but there is not a single person who has regretted going to the gym. Like, ask anybody
No,
who's leaving and say, "Did you regret that?" They will not tell you yes. Right? So it's just
exactly.
being there, but it's true. Having the endorphins and all of that, is really, really important for finding ways that you can manage your own thoughts and positivity when you're surrounded by negativity. And it's interesting because I think in a couple of weeks we're actually going to be talking about toxic relationships and what do you do
Oh,
when you are
wow.
surrounded by negativity. So that was really good. So the next one was around, and again, this is, and I think it doesn't matter what your age is, but it's to do with, I guess, to a degree, limiting beliefs, people who believe that it's too late to change for whatever reason. So the question is, how do you start changing at this stage? And this stage could be this age, this life stage, this country, or this, whatever it is. There's always something that people feel like they can't start something new because. So how do you go about changing and being more positive and transforming your life when you think that it's too late for you?
Well, for starters, as we all know, it's never too late. It
Mm,
really is never too late to make a change. If you're not happy with your life, then you need to sit down and look at it and make a change, because
mhm.
otherwise nothing will change. So
Yep.
deciding, first of all, in your mind to look, I'm not happy here, not happy with what I'm doing. It's then down to you to make a change. And regarding an age or anything like that, I mean, I was thinking the other day, like, there was a lady I was reading on Facebook, and I think quite a lot of people saw this post. It certainly did the rounds, and she was, I think, in her 80s,
Mhm.
and she never got a degree or graduated from school. And it's something that she always wanted to do, and it was like on her bucket list, yeah, the last thing on her bucket list. And she went to school or college, I can't remember which one it was, and she graduated and she got a degree. But all the students absolutely admired her and looked up to her, and they were inspired, because I thought, well, if that's not going to inspire other people and students to do well. And I think it was absolutely amazing, and even I was like, what a beautiful story. So
Mhm.
regarding learning a new skill, or
Mhm.
getting a new job, it really is never too late. It's all about, if you're not happy, make that change, whatever that change may be. If you're not quite sure, just sort of like, again, write it down, things you're not happy with, things you want to make a change. It might be studying, it might be learning a new skill. It's whatever it is that you want to make the change. Change your mindset, think positively, and then go about how you're going to make that change. Ask yourself, like, how am I going to do this? And you'll come up with the answers. It's never too late. It really is never too late to make that change.
So, so, so true. I love that story. I actually sometimes find myself scrolling on like Instagram or whatever, and usually I'll end up seeing, like a 70-year-old woman, like literally putting me to shame. She was, I think she was doing like renegade rows, which is when you're in a kind of like push up position and you're moving, so you're balancing on one hand. And this woman was literally
Oh, wow.
70, and I complained about the 3 sets that I did the last time I went to the gym, and I just said, you know what, I have zero excuses now. And I think, like you say, I actually think that sometimes we're actually challenged in our lives just so that we can inspire others. Because if she didn't have the life that she had, she wouldn't have gotten to the point where she thought, I'm going to go to university or whatever when I'm 80. But the fact
Exactly.
that she did that meant that an entire generation that may never have seen that or thought that they could actually do anything has just seen that actually everything we thought was true is actually no longer true. Because I can still be 80 when I go to university. It doesn't have to be between the ages of 18 to 21, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, absolutely love that.
I mean, it's
And
like you say, you don't know who you are inspiring by
mm,
doing what you're doing, and even by making a change. whether it be a little change or dramatic change, people are still going to notice. They're going to look thinking, wait a minute, look what, she's doing this, but look what she's doing now. And you
Mm.
might then inspire them to make a change in their life, and it can have that really big knock-on effect.
Definitely. And the knock-on effect is, and that's what I like to think about, mindset. And I think it also relates to the post that you shared on Facebook today. Because I feel like, how our life is, as I said, is a result of our actions, right? The decisions that we've made has resulted in the life that we are living. And none of this is to say that the experiences that we've had are all good or right? So for people who are, experiencing trauma, have gone through some really horrific things, please do not attack me. This is not saying that any of those things should be discounted, but it's the choices we make against how we respond to the way life has treated us, the way other people have treated us, that is under our control. And so sometimes that might mean getting help, right? It might
Yeah,
mean getting, going to counseling, talking to a friend, doing something, being in places where that's so positive, you have no choice but to embrace it and to heal and to be loved and supported, right? All of those are still your choice. So when it comes to being at, a different life stage, trying to figure out what your purpose is, being surrounded by negative people, what the question is, what choice do you want to make in response to those things? And I feel like the way in which you can make a decision is like throwing a boomerang, right? Because whatever you throw out, you'll get back. So if you
yeah,
choose to be negative, my friend, you'll throw that and it'll come straight back at you. It may not be today, it may
yeah.
not be tomorrow, but at some point it's going to happen. So it's about trying to figure out what are the ways that I can be positive. And if I can't be positive, what's the way that I can at least respond that's not negative?
Yeah, because it's,
Right?
it's like you said, with regarding negativity, it does have that knock-on effect. It's like if
Mm,
you get out of bed, say for example, and you stub your foot, and it hurts. So you're probably swearing in about 5 different languages that you never knew you had, and it hurts. You're thinking, oh, that's great. What a way to start the day,
right.
and then you end up having a bad day because that one thing that happens has sent your day spiraling.
Mm,
So it's just, trying to be positive, focus on the positives. And like you say, you are going to have challenging times,
hmm
but it's these challenging times are going to help you grow and evolve because life will be dull and boring if it was just all nice and rosy all the time. You're not going to learn anything. You're not going to grow. You're not going to get stronger or learn different skills or, it's just, it is difficult, but it's just changing little habits
mm.
to being positive, and then it does get easier. But you have to be mindful when you are feeling negative. Think, right, okay, I shouldn't be thinking like this. Let's focus on the positives.
Definitely. And I also think we can preempt a lot. So, a lot of the time, so for example, like with my coaching clients, they fill out like a weekly reflection form. And one of the questions is around, what your intentions are for the week. And then another one is what's going to get in the way. And then there's another one that asks, well, what are you going to do when that happens? So none of this is saying that because I've chosen to be positive, because I'm going to transform my life, immediately the world is going to be like, right, let's just bring you roses every day. Like, it's just not going to happen. But how we choose to see the world changes. So if I know that the ways that I have been, like the habits that I've got and how I've lived my life so far have maybe been a bit more negative, I can't expect to change that overnight.
No,
So therefore, I know exactly what I'm like, and therefore I know what's going to try and stop me. I know I'm going to procrastinate. I know I'm going to allow myself to get distracted. I know I'm going to be thinking negatively. I know all of these things, and they're okay. But what are you going to do when you are in the right sound mind? You're happy, you're normal, you're positive, you're just in your good state. that's when you decide how you respond. You don't wait for the situation to occur and then try to respond, because at that point you're already overwhelmed, and you're
Yeah.
then going to make decisions from a place of emotion or negativity, which are not going to benefit you. So if you actually preempt some of these challenges, then at least okay, so when that happens, it's going to get to a point where it just automatically clicks in, and you just go for that walk, or you go and read that book, or you remove yourself from the situation, or you do, meditation or whatever that is, because you've already preempted it and reminded yourself of ways that you can counteract it. So definitely it's all about what you're putting out there is what comes back. And so I guess even just, on that sense, then it's like, how has positive thinking kind of changed your life? Like, tell us a bit about how it's worked for you.
It's changed it dramatically. I mean, like we said, you do have good and bad days, but when you start your mindset and start looking more towards the positives, it is amazing. And and it is, sometimes you have to think, is this really happening? Because you are attracting good positive energy back to you.
Mm.
So good and positive things do happen. Like say you might sort of well, especially for me, I've got a very, very good strong network around me now. And I've got, not that I didn't have in the first place, but I've got a lot of people around me that are very positive, and I love that, and I surround myself with them, and I spend a lot more time with them. Positive things start to happen. um Regarding work, something might come up, or you might get new clients that come, or new business deals might happen. It's just being in that mindset and thinking positively just opens doors just to so many opportunities that you didn't think was possible. And sometimes you do think, well, how did that happen? And you're thinking, my goodness, it's because I'm putting out their positivity, and you will get it back. And you are going to be challenged. You're going to have good and bad days, but it's just a bad day. It's not a bad life,
Mm.
And there are things that you can't control. And we all, let's be honest, sometimes like to control things and know what's going to happen. But if it's out of your control, then you can't worry about it, because there's nothing you can do about it. So just go with the flow.
I love that. It's not a bad life, it's just a bad day.
Yeah.
I love that, because it's true. One thing, like even the example of you when you talked about waking up and stubbing your toe, that's one thing, one 5 seconds, 1 minute, 10 minutes of an entire day, of an entire lifetime, that you still have an opportunity to enjoy outside of that. So I guess, even just going back a bit further then, so we can see how positive thinking has opened doors for you, how it's created opportunities, it's allowed you to build a network of people around you who are supportive. But how did you even get to that point? Because I know, especially in my line of work, the bit at the beginning where people don't actually believe it's possible is the hardest place for people to be in, because they want it, but they don't think it would work for them. So what's that kind of turning point? What's the thing that kind of changed your mind from, yeah, somehow I don't think thinking differently is going to change my life, to, oh my gosh, why have I not been told about this 50 years ago?
I
Not to
know.
say you're not even old
I
enough
know.
to be by 50 years, but you know what I mean? Like, why is it that, why did I take so long to kind of jump onto this? What was that for you?
I think for me, I mean, my massive turning point, and I think it was for a lot of people with everything going on in the world, especially with COVID,
Mm,
and I think it did affect people, a lot of people mentally, and a lot of people were obviously with a lot of negativity around. And the first thing was, it was affecting me, and you kind of get into this point where you do feel lost, and you do feel like you're going down the rabbit hole. Basically, you can't see your way out.
mm,
But a lot of it is all in your mind. Okay, a lot of things that happen in the world which are out of your control. The first thing that I started to do was, I don't really watch the news, if I'm honest. I'm aware of what's going on, but I don't sit and watch it every day. I don't, and I'm not saying don't watch the news, but try not to take it on board. Try not to, just because it will have that effect. I don't read a newspaper either, you know. So I focus on positive things in my life, things that make me feel good. And if it doesn't make me feel good, then I put it to the side, or I have limited time in that not good feeling. And it got to a point with me where I just kind of got fed up with just not feeling great, you know. And you wake up and you know, and you know, you've got no motivation, have you? Because you're like, I don't feel great, I feel this, and you know, and sometimes when you're in that mindset as well, and you're surrounded by negativity, it can make you ill, you know. So it's your mind is now not great, you don't feel great, your body doesn't feel great, and you're getting to the point thinking, what am I going to do? It's not ideal, it's not brilliant. So when you start to look at things, and it is about making changes and start focusing on the positives, the one thing that I normally do is there's always someone worse off than you. So no matter what your situation is, and you might feel a bit down about it, you might think it's bad, there's someone else worse off than you. So that's something to be grateful for already. And it is focusing in on the positives. You've got a lot of things you should be grateful for. You know, if you've got a roof over your head, you've got food on the table, you've got good friends around you, you've got family. Some people don't even have that. So it really is putting things into perspective as well. But it is amazing when you start to look at the positives of what can happen. And like I said, the opportunities, the experiences. I mean, years ago, and this is quite a few years ago, I always wanted to go to Australia. It was the number one on my bucket list. And there's a lot of people around me that were like, what, on your own? And I was like, yes. And they were like, oh, I couldn't do that, you know. And what happens if, so all the scenarios that people, you know, what happens if you know, you might get bitten by a spider, you might get bit by a snake, or you might get lost. And I'm sort of standing there, and you know, they did plant a few seeds. I was beginning to sort of doubt, thinking, oh, wait a minute, well, but it was something that I always wanted to do. And there was nothing and no one that was going to stop me from taking this time out and go to Australia. I actually did New Zealand as well. And I had the best year ever. All the experiences that I had, the people I met, the things I did, it was the highlight of well, basically of one of the best things I've ever done. So if I didn't do that, and I did listen to the people that were negative and say I shouldn't do this, or how could you do that, I wouldn't have had that. And I do look back now, you know, and I did it on my own, which is quite an amazing thing in itself. So whenever I do face challenging times, I'm thinking, for goodness sake, Cassandra, if you can go to Australia and survive a year out there, then you can do this, you know.
It's so true. Oh gosh, yeah, that it's so true. There, I'm just again just digesting some things that you said. So I mean, just even on the last point, I love traveling, and I travel a lot on my own. And you know, most of that is because I get tired of waiting for other people to decide that they're going to allow what they want to do supersede their fear, right? Because
Yeah.
if you don't want to take steps forward in your life, that's okay, but that means my life gets delayed. I remember there was a time where I literally sat there and I thought, do you know what? There are so many opportunities I've missed out on, so many places that I've wanted to go, so many things that I've not done because I've waited for someone to come with me. And I realized that all that time passes and I don't get that time back.
Yeah.
So, you know, how much longer am I going to wait? And I remember just sitting there to myself, I said, I'm not going to do it. And, you know, I didn't necessarily decide to go backpacking straight away. It was a kind of, right, I'm just going to go. I went somewhere in Europe for a weekend by myself. And I was like, that was cool. Then I went somewhere further afield by myself for a longer period of time. Then I went traveling, and then I did this, that, and the other. And I'll just go and pop up into places, and I'll just, call someone if I know that they live there, and I'll say, oh, I'm passing through. Who are you with? No, it's just me. Right? Because if I waited, I'd still be waiting. Like,
Yeah.
literally, in 2019, I visited 15 countries, right? 15
Wow.
countries. I'd said, you know what? I'm so done. I am going to travel every month. I don't care where I'm going to go. So I did. And it was so interesting because there were people who were like, oh, I'll come with you. Whereas if it was the other way round and I said, would you like to come? Let's figure out a date to go. That date probably still wouldn't have been booked. Right. So
Yeah,
sometimes just us, and for those of you who are watching, sometimes you are the one who needs to take the action. And by you taking the action and just thinking about whatever the outcome is being positive, not only are you going to benefit by pushing through the fears that you've got, but you're going to, similar to the story you told at the beginning, you're potentially going to inspire someone else to think,
definitely.
oh, maybe I can do it too. Right. And then even there was something you mentioned about, you got tired of, you said something like you got fed up of not feeling great.
Yeah.
Right. What is that thing for you? People keep dabbling in this idea of wanting to change their life. And then sometimes to a degree, you see what's involved and you just think, oh, that feels a bit much. But at what point, are you ever going to do it?
I think a lot of it as well is you get conditioned when you're growing up, you get conditioned to think in a certain way.
Hmm.
So that when your parents or relatives or schools say, so that you kind of have these limited beliefs about, well, this is what I'm going to do when I grow up, or well, I can't do that. So it
Mm,
is difficult that when you start to, should we say, thinking outside the box, wanting to do things, it's having the confidence as well, because people have sort of, not all your life, but through a lot of it, from their conditioned ways of thinking, have made you think, well, I don't know if I should do this, or can I do it? But even if
mm,
you've got those doubts and you're not sure, but you want to make a change, but it's got to come from you, not from someone else. It's got to come from you. And I think once you make that change and you make that decision, go for it. If it doesn't work out, but then there's nothing, at least you tried. At least you. The worst thing is having life full of regrets and not doing things.
oh,
So if you go for it, okay, it didn't work out. Well, try something else that does work out. Try something else that makes you okay. That it didn't quite work out how you wanted to, but then do something that makes you happy. It's
mm,
not the end of the world. There's no right or wrong answers.
mm,
It's a lot of life is trying to figure things out anyway, isn't it? It's a learning curve. It's life lessons.
mm. It's so true. And I just had a flooding of thoughts just come in. And what, interestingly, one of those is, people take less time to make decisions about even the food that they eat that could potentially kill them versus a decision that could actually transform their life for the better. Oh, I'm gonna delay on that because that might actually just help me live a great life. But I'm gonna eat that thing and that might kill me, right?
Big black donut.
Sometimes sometimes the context of how we actually see fear is also important because and I have my own views of fear, and fear to me is one of the things I like to say, which always triggers people, but oh well, is fear is selfishness visualized in thought. Our lives are not about us, right? They're really not. The lives that we live are so that we can help other people, right?
Yeah,
That's what we're here to do. And if everyone is helping someone, we all get helped. So if we are not fulfilling the things that we are here to do in our life to achieve that purpose, it's selfish
yeah,
because we've created a blocker to be able to actually help somebody who needs us and only us because of the life that we've lived. Like, we've had the challenges we've had simply because we're going to get to 80 years old and get a degree, and then an entire generation is going to be inspired. We're going to go through a lot of oppression so that we can stand on a podium one day and say, I have a dream. We're going to, face, losing a child through drunk driving to be able to set up a foundation that supports others, right? So the things that we experience in life are not just about us. It's about who we can help because of it. So when we give into fear, we are immediately cutting off a section of the world who was supposed to benefit from our presence, a section of the world who was supposed to learn something from us, right? If either of us gave into fear, today would not exist. Whoever is watching might have heard something today that's going to help them transform their life. We would have missed the opportunity.
Yeah. And
Right.
the thing is, it's like you say, it's not easy, but it's just take it, and it does seem daunting because it's a big thing. You're thinking, well, I've got to change my whole life. Well, if you look at it like that, I mean, Jesus, that's quite overwhelming, isn't it? So just knock it down in bite size. Take it day by day. Right, today I'm going to make a change. What am I going to do? And it could be a little thing. Maybe write 3 things. Right, today this is what I'm going to do, and then tomorrow this is what I'm going to do. And by making those little changes and making those changes into habits, it makes it easier and it doesn't seem so overwhelming and daunting.
Definitely. And that's such a key point. So, I like to look at transformation as being a boat in a river, right? If you just turn the oar just slightly, you can end up in a completely different part of the world. If you're going out into the ocean and you start straight, if you end up moving just slightly, one small action, if you just move it, you will end up so far off to one side, right? But when you made that small, tiny step, you never believed that that's how far away you would move, right? And it's
Yeah,
the same with life. It doesn't have to be the big overhaul because,
no,
like you said, it's overwhelming. It could just be one small thing,
that's it.
but just that one small thing, that one small thought, that one positive thought, that one positive person you bring into your life, that one scary task that you do, though, that one thing that you do could completely change the trajectory of your life. And so just because you were kind of speaking about that, what would you say, for someone who is now like, right, I'm feeling inspired, I'm feeling motivated. What are your 3 takeaways? What are 3 things that people can do to start making practical changes in their life?
Well, the thing that I actually find helps me, and this was quite a knock-on effect that did help me, and again, it's a small step, is I start my day every morning with a positive mindset and gratitude. So the first thing I do when I wake up is, well, basically, thank God I'm alive. And I always think today is going to be a good day. That's the first thing. Today is going to be a good day. And I meditate. I meditate for 10 minutes. And that really does get you in a good, focused mindset. And it's a great way of starting your day. And it's also calming, it gets you focused and grounded. And there are some great, I mean, there's so many meditations out there, especially I do mine on, I pick one from YouTube and I've got a few now that I like. It hasn't got to be a long time. It can be maybe sort of just 10 minutes. I only meditate for 10 minutes. 10 minutes is long enough, or even 5 minutes, whatever you can spare. So set your alarm sort of 10 minutes, 15 minutes before, you normally get up and meditate and start your day in a positive mindset and think to yourself, today is going to be a good day. And you'll be surprised how your day will flow. You might have the odd, bad day, but I can guarantee you'll start to have better days than you do bad days. And also, it's so important, and a lot of people struggle with this, is taking time out for yourself. Because we're very good at being there for everybody else and helping everybody else, and we forget about ourselves. We really, really do. And like I keep on saying, you can't fill from an empty cup. I keep on saying that to people because it's so true. You have to take time out for yourself, do things yourself, even if it's, like I said, just going down the gym, going for a walk, or even just sitting reading for half an hour. Just a little bit of time out for yourself, and you would find then you sort of recharge your batteries, you're feeling re-energized, and you've got more then to give to others. That is so important, and that's one of the biggest things that people struggle with. And thirdly, it's your life, it's your choice. It's not anyone else's. You've got to live your life how you want to, and focus on your goals, what you want to achieve in life, and don't give up. Whatever you do, don't give up. Don't let anyone stop you from doing and achieving what you want to achieve, because you'll look back, I can guarantee it, in years to come thinking, I'm so glad I did it and I didn't give up.
Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. So yeah, for those of you who are kind of watching, take that on board. Figure out what works for you. So even if you're going on to find podcasts or videos, just try a few out. You know, I know for me when I started doing was looking for, I think, affirmations. They don't really work well for me. So that was something I had to try to realize
Yeah,
it didn't. So I found something that did. So again, a decision is a temporary choice. Decide on something just to get started. If you feel like it's not working for you, leave it and move on to something else. But we do have a question that's popped up, so I'm going to just show that on there. Welcome, Na Amele. There is a question here that says, is there such a thing as being too positive? Interesting question. What do you think?
that is a brilliant question. I love it. And believe you me, I think there is no problem at all with being too positive. I really, really don't have a problem with it at all. I think the more positive you are, then you're gonna basically make everyone around you feel really, really good. So if you're a positive person, then go for it. You know, it's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, if I'm honest.
Definitely. And it's so funny because as you were speaking, it just reminded me. I remember I went on holiday a few years back for a friend's birthday, and I was sharing a room with one of the girls, and she's not a morning person at all, but she doesn't, and I don't think she likes being the only one awake in the morning either. So somehow magically, oh, there was a big noise, and I'm a light sleeper, so I woke up. But strangely enough, she's not the person who was there when I'd gone to sleep. So I was just like, what happened? What happened in the night? Was I sleeping that deeply? And so it's like, well, I'm awake now. So it's very much, so what are we doing? And it's like, how are you this positive? Like, you've literally been awake for 5 seconds. And I'm like, but I don't have time, right? I don't have time. And this is the thing. And that's why I love this question is there a thing as being too positive for who? Right? Is it because other people are so negative they can't take your positivity?
Yeah.
Or is it that actually we maybe some people feel too positive, or they feel others are too positive because they are surrounded by so much negativity?
Yes, very true. I've actually been told many a times, and it does make me laugh when people say, "Well, that's all well and good because I'm being positive, but I'm a realist. I have to be realistic."
Oh,
And you probably, yeah, so you've heard that as well, haven't you? And I just laugh, and they say, "Yeah, come on, Cash, you've got to live in the real world." And I said, "Well, my world's pretty good, thank you. So I'm going to carry on living it my way."
honestly, realism, again, it's the question to come back with is what reality is that for you? Because,
Exactly.
as I mentioned, we all live in the exact same world, but our experience changes based on our perception of the world that we live in. So you perceive me to be too positive in your world. I'm not too positive in my world. This is normal.
Yeah.
I'm just like, as long as I've got the energy, I'm going to use it, right? And I don't have time to spend the energy because I feel like energy is like currency. So
Yeah.
do you want to spend your energy on positive things or negative things, because you'll get whatever you spend it on? So I would choose to be, again, it goes back to that whole thing. If you had a desert island, there was two. One is negativity 24 hours a day every day, or one was positivity 24 hours a day every day. Which one would you choose?
I know what I'll choose.
Right? You will go for the positive one. So it's got nothing to do with about being positive. It's just you're too positive for me.
Yeah.
So, but instead of looking at your positivity as a negative thing, it's like, well, how did you get to be this positive? Start to get curious. How did you get to be that positive? Ask questions. How can you be this bright so early in the morning? Because I don't have time to be negative. I don't want that energy coming back to me, so this has been such a great conversation. I really appreciate you taking some time out to come and spend to give some views on positive thinking, because this is where everything starts, right? For anyone who wants to change their finances, for anyone who wants to change their mental health, their physical health, they want to be a better parent, they want to be a better sibling, they want to be a better child, they want to invest in something, they want to change their career. Like, none of those things matter if you don't have the power of positive thinking, because if you don't think it will be, it will never be. True. Right? So you have to have those positive thoughts. So, how can people, find you? How can they, follow you? I know I've got some details below, but just kind of let us know how best.
I'm on Facebook, obviously Cassandra Stanley, and also I've got a Facebook group which is Fostering a Little Mindfulness and Self-Care.
Excellent. So definitely check out Cassandra's Facebook page, Facebook group, and just get a little mindfulness. If you're challenged about where do I even start, I know Cassandra posts quite regularly. So if you're looking for, well, I don't know where to go and find it, just go and seek out Cassandra. Just go into the group, and then at least on a regular basis, you're getting a dose of positivity in your life. And, this is where change occurs, when I talked about that trajectory, because imagine you go into that group, and in that group, you find someone you resonate with, you build a relationship with them. Now this person is a closer friend to you than people you've known for 20 years, and they encourage and support you, right? That's how it starts. And the same thing goes with the SHiFT. We're working on this running this particular program simply to help you take those steps. But the thing is showing up is such a big step. And I thank everybody who has taken time to show up today, because this is what change looks like. This is what transformation looks like. But get involved, right? Come to the sessions. And when you're there, connect with the other people in the program, because these are other people who are trying to better themselves, and therefore they're more likely to be positive people who are going to want to see you win and want to, to help you and champion you, rather than the people who are, potentially keeping you in a negative state of mind. So just before I wrap up, Cassandra, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share?
I think, like you say, it's just making that change, and you can make that change right now, just by deciding, I'm not happy, this is what I'm going to do. Or even start tomorrow. It's never too late. You can start right now or start tomorrow, but start right now. And then you're definitely going to make a change.
Not telling you what to do or anything, but start right now. It's not bedtime yet. You've got a good couple of hours to just get cracking on YouTube and watch some motivational videos. Speaking of which, I have many on my Armar group channel, so please do feel free to follow and get some inspiration. It was so funny because I actually was talking about putting yourself first in the video that I released this week, when you are surrounded by toxic people. So definitely check that one out. But yeah, again, to everybody who has joined, if you've got any other questions, please do feel free to drop them in the chat. We've still got a few minutes left. I just want to tell you about a few things before we wrap up. So again, the SHiFT, if you've joined that, thank you for signing up. If you're yet to join, please do sign up. The link is at the bottom of the screen there, amarkaigroup.com/the SHiFT. It really is, I've experienced being coached, and as a coach, I've coached others, and there is absolutely nothing, I would say, more beautiful than seeing someone believe in themselves. And when I say see, like it's visible, like you can actually see the light bulb going off in someone's mind, realizing that I can actually do all of the things that I'm thinking of, and I can be happy in life, and I can achieve everything that I've wanted, and they actually believe in themselves to do it. It's indescribable. And if you think about the people who you are surrounded by, this is your opportunity. The fact that you are the one who's come here today, it's your opportunity. And sometimes that's just how it works. There always has to be one, right? Someone has got to take one for the team. You know, we've got to take one and we've got to do the work. But I tell you what, when you take that step, you start to influence the people around you. You don't have to tell them what to do. They can see your life changing, and they see that and they want it for themselves. And because you've been through it, because you're going through it and you're still open to going through it, you are in the best position to then turn around and say, look, I've experienced this. It will get better. Keep trying. And just think about how many people in your circle right now you can help just by doing that. It's, you know, as I said, indescribable stuff. So be sure to join the SHiFT link at the bottom of the screen. You know, tell a friend to tell a friend. It's free. This round is free. So I would definitely recommend you joining, sign up, and you'll get the emails which are telling you what the schedule is going to be. Our next session is taking place on Saturday at 9 a.m. GMT. That is about mental health. And that links quite, you know, nicely on what we're speaking about today, because when you make that shift, you're going to feel like everything in the world is challenging you. You're going to feel like, oh, hold on, I thought you said if I think positive, everything's going to change. Yeah, it does. But sometimes everything you believed is being challenged now. So how do you protect your mental health? How do you even see the signs that your mental health is suffering, right? You know, and again, just going back to what Cassandra had said earlier, taking that time out, knowing when your mental health is potentially at risk, and taking the time out, do the mindfulness, put yourself in places that are better for you, and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, thank you again for joining. We'll be back this time, or 7 p.m. next week for another live. And again, Saturdays are for the actual Zoom workshops or webinars that we'll be doing. So sign up for those. And again, from my perspective, this is really just about how can you be more positive? How can you do one thing today, one thing each day that allows you to think something more positive? Even if you don't feel it in that moment, but just think about it, because the more you think about it, the more you focus on the thought, the more you begin to feel it. And the more you feel it, the more you will generate the energy and vibrate on that level, and all of that will come back to you. So yeah, there we go. So thanks again for joining us for the power of positive thinking. Really appreciate you taking that time, and I hope something's resonated with you. Please do leave your comments, your feedback, reach out and let us know what your biggest takeaway is from today. That will be useful to know. What's the one thing that you've taken away from today's conversation? So until next week, until next time, thanks again so much, Cassandra, for being here today. And we will see you again very, very soon.